Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Eccentric, the makers of the K-Box and the new K-Pulley. Guys, flywheel training's really grown in popularity of late, and although it's something that's been around for a while, the simple reason that it's grown in popularity is because it works. We've been lucky to have a K-Box in our weight room for the past 3 years, and we've seen some really great things when it comes to improving the athlete's ability to change direction, and then looking at our return to play protocols with different lower body injuries with the student athletes. The love-hate relationship that everyone has with the K-Box is now just going to grow more with the addition of the K-Pulley. The ability to do standing presses, pulls, rip-throughs, and knee drive exercises is just going to be another arsenal to our training and another addition to the love-hate relationship that our student athletes have with the awesome tools that come from Eccentric. Go ahead and hop over to eccentric.com today to check out what they have. Guys, I can't recommend it enough, and I guarantee you won't be disappointed, not just with the products, but with the awesome customer service that Eccentric provides. Hey everybody, if you enjoy the podcast and the content that it provides, make sure you hop over and check out the all-new Strength Coach Network. The Strength Coach Network is a combination of the CVA SPS community and the Rugby Strength Coach community, bringing you what is sure to be the internet's leading resource for continuing education for strength and conditioning professionals. Combining these two resources has allowed us to bring some of the best content from some of the best minds in the world together for your one-stop shop to better improve the continuing education for not just yourself, but your entire staff. Bringing together all of the lectures from the Rugby Strength Coach community, along with the lectures exclusively done for the Central Virginia Sport Performance community, and all the lectures performed at the Central Virginia Sport Performance Seminar, make this an absolute must for performance coaches around the world. The world-class lectures at the Strength Coach Network are not all that you'll see as well. The discussion in the forums and the support and the career guidance from some of the top practitioners in the world, from people all over the world, makes this an absolute must and a great place for you to network, learn, and grow as a performance professional. So hop on over to strengthcoachnetwork.com and use the code CVASPS, that's C-V-A-S-P-S, to get your 48-hour trial for only $1. We're sure you're going to find great value in the Strength Coach Network and are really excited to have you involved. So hop on over to strengthcoachnetwork.com and use the code CVASPS to check it out today. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. Today, guys, we have an absolutely killer talk. I have the opportunity to sit down and talk about everything jump training with Daniel Back. Guys, after a quick little rundown of how Daniel got down there to Texas, he's going to get right into talking about how they're evaluating the athletes that they get to work with and really dive into some of the rabbit holes of the areas that they have to work around when it comes to the schedules and work rates and other training programs that a lot of these athletes go through. And then we get right into a really awesome and in-depth look into a specific case study that Daniel shares with us with around one of the long jumpers that he worked with. And he dives into like things that they saw that worked, things that didn't work, and some different things that may surprise people that were more detrimental than positive when it came to increasing speed and jumping ability. Guys, this is really an awesome talk. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Let's get right to it. Daniel, thank you so much for spending the time with us today.
Yeah, what's up, Jay? Glad to be here.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, hey, how about we give people a really quick Spark Notes, Cliff Notes version of where you are, what you're getting into, and what you got going on up there.
Okay, so I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I got into training at a young age. I got pretty obsessed with basketball when I was about 12 years old, and started jump training when I was 13. Had a lot of success. Ended up being kind of known as a guy who could jump in basketball. And also, I got very kind of hooked on that training process as a teenager. So decided I want to, hopefully do that for a career. Ended up playing a year of D3 college basketball, and then ended up deciding not to keep playing because I had to get a job. I was broke. But then I started training people, started training my own vertical again, and had some success, and kind of turned into a sort of like the jump guy on campus at my school, and became known for jumping and jump training. and got an exercise science degree. After college, spent a year working with a high school, working with the track team and the basketball team, doing like strength training, and then also coaching high jump. And then following that, I got a job in Austin, Texas, at a place called Acceleration Sports Performance Lab. And so I moved down here in June of 2014, and I've been doing that ever since. Acceleration it's known for speed technique training. That's kind of our niche. So we obviously, being in Texas, train a lot of football players, but then also athletes in all sports. I'd say for me, football, track, volleyball, and basketball are probably my biggest ones, since I have the jump training background. I sort of handle a lot of the volleyball and basketball, but then also have kind of become the track guy at Acceleration, having started training some track athletes back in college. Got very interested in it, and it kind of turned into my favorite sport to train people for, just because it's pure athletic development. So yeah, I'm in the private sector down here, and generally working with athletes who are doing a lot of workouts at school, or have like a very busy training schedule away from me, training and practice. And so oftentimes not getting to have like total control over the athlete, but trying to fill in the gaps, and try to kind of steer them in the right direction, and have a lot of influence on their athletic trajectory with minimal time spent actually with them. A lot of my people I'll see once a week. Sometimes it's a couple times a month only. But yeah, trying to have an influence in that limited time. So that's kind of the context I'm in right now. And then also I've got my website, which I started in college back when I was doing all the jump training, and that has kind of evolved over time into having a decent following, and sharing a lot of information on there, probably more information than anybody cares to actually read. But yeah, that's grown into a pretty decent website there too. So that's me. That's Jump Science.
Yeah, and the Jump Science Instagram page does put out a lot of really good stuff for coaches to take a look at and make sure that you're looking at things in really a way that's going to transfer.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm very analytical and very kind of skeptical, I guess you could say. So I kind of try to keep it real in terms of, like, we have a ton of ideas, but that, sometimes like the ideas don't necessarily all work. So we should, I try to have a very, very analytical approach to saying, why would this work? Why doesn't this work? And what's the best way to do things? And so, yeah, it's generally pretty good, thought stimulating stuff I'm putting out, I think.
No, completely. I love all the stuff you guys have that you're putting out through there, but you said something that, in the middle there when you were talking about how you handle your athletes that is really intriguing to me when you're talking about how, you're piggybacking off what they're doing with their other coaches, and with some of them you're seeing them twice a month. So let's talk about how you evaluate and break down what you're going to do with these young men and women that you get the opportunity to coach.
Yeah, so yeah, they come in, and it's usually yeah, they have a lot of other things going on, and they're coming in because they have probably heard some good things about the training facility. And then they did everybody does a consultation with the owner before they start, and he'll sell them. He'll sell them on speed technique, or like some little thing that's gonna change their career, and he's pretty good at that. But then they come in, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm supposed to try to live up to that expectation that he puts in their head. And it's not always easy. So yeah, like like I said, we're known for the speed technique. Um, but a lot of times, I mean, let's say you got an eighth grader coming in. It's like, fine tuning his first step is priority number one, right? Um, probably power development and injury prevention and things like that are probably more of a priority. So I have gotten away from like just saying, oh, this, acceleration, we work on speed technique, that's what we do. Instead, I come in and I say, okay, what's the big picture that we have going on? So yeah, those first couple sessions that I spend with somebody, I'm asking tons of questions and trying to find out, what is like all their physical activity they have going on. Um, do we think that is uh, a reasonable amount of physical activity? Is all of this as a whole going to take them in the right direction? Do we need to try to make some changes? I ask them about what they're eating, what their lifestyle is like, these things like that. And so it's almost like a halfway consultation kind of role. So I've gotten better over time at just being really honest and blunt with people. Where if I got a volleyball player coming in, and I say volleyball because they're notorious here for just being really, really overworked. They're doing a daily workout at school with their team. They're doing a daily practice after school with the team during school season. Then when you get out of school season, they still have a daily workout with the team at school. Plus they're doing club practice, plus they're doing private lessons. The club practice may involve like some type of brutal conditioning or something. And then they got tournaments on the weekends. So, I try to just look at like, what's the big picture? Is this going to allow you to progress? And then, we try to make, whatever changes I can make a little bit at a time. Some people listen to me more than others, but so it's looking at that big picture and then trying to fill in the gaps. So in the case of the volleyball player, it's pretty much always, okay, you need to get stronger. We need to build up some structure to prevent injury. So here's, this set of exercises that we're going to be doing pretty much every time you come in, as long as you're not, don't have like a tournament the next day or something. And that's oftentimes the focus with them. Obviously a lot of like, knee pain in volleyball. So we got to address like quadricep strength and things like that. So, in the case of a football player, they have a lot of lifting going on already. And then you're trying to get them some more speed exposure to try to like balance out the lifting. So then, we're hitting the track, we're running, fast 40s, fast 60s, things like that. And then also with them working on technique, because you get the team sport athlete with some bad team sport habits as far as sprinting is concerned. And that's where, trying to make some changes in those first couple steps can actually be pretty influential, as well as working on their top speed mechanics, where it's something that they haven't done a whole lot of. It varies a lot depending on the person. Oh, it's all one-on-one training. So that's one of the reasons why I'm able to do this type of evaluation and, high quality training with each one. It looks a lot different depending on the athlete. But it's basically look at the big picture and try to address everything we can address there, rather than just like, you're here for 60 minutes, let's do a good workout. It's a little bit more involved than that.
Yeah, 100%, because you're talking about two groups of athletes who tend to be exceptionally overworked. So building those results that are being sold to them has really got to be a challenge when it comes to looking at the entire program and the volumes that you're incorporating.
Yeah, it definitely is. And again, that's where when I first came in, I kind of just was the new guy there, and I kind of felt this pressure of like, man, what am I supposed to do with this situation? But over time, I've kind of grown to the point where, just like honesty is my calling card. Like early on, I'll tell people like, look, with this workload, you're not going to get faster like the next couple months. That doesn't mean we can't work on anything and can't improve anything. But like, if you're squatting at school, 3 times a week, and then you're doing all this punishment work, like I'm talking about football players. So they have like a really the school that most of our kids are from, like this area. they have a great football program, but it's like, super disciplined, super difficult training in the off season where, yeah, it's like, they do one warm up exercise wrong or something. It's like, okay, we got to go do, 50 squat jumpers or something. It's like really difficult conditioning a lot of times, or like punishment work. So yeah, it's like, yeah, if you're doing all this lifting, all this punishment work, like you're not going to get fat. You're not going to improve your 40 during this time. And I'll just tell them that, instead of like, yeah, well, okay, we're just going to work on this one little detail in your first step, and just, it'll make you faster, and just not be honest with them about the timing. So yeah, try to cast that vision for like, okay, when you come around to spring ball, which is like starting right now, actually, when you come around to spring ball and they start like doing more football and a little bit less brutal strength training, and they're not punishing you so much, that's a time where we might be able to see your speed increase. Or in the summer where you got 3 workouts a week and they're hard workouts, but at least it's only 3 per week, Uh, yeah, just try to just give them a realistic expectation, and yeah, kind of cast that vision for this is how things are going to go. It's not going to be just easy. You come in this week, you're faster the next week. That kind of scenario. So yeah, the honesty is a real big thing there, I think.
Yeah, totally. But you have had that track record of success when it comes to improving speed and power outputs in the jump events as well.
Yes, yes. I'd say acceleration as a whole has a very good reputation. Um, yeah, it's not always dramatic improvement in the first couple weeks or whatever, but like over time, you can definitely see sort of the separation between where an athlete would have been and where they do end up. And yeah, definitely in track, that's very relevant. Track is a big sport where you kind of invest for a while to try to get those changes over time. Yeah, you don't get a sprinter or a jumper who comes in and expects to PR the next few weeks, right? It's like we're looking ahead at next season and trying to get better there. So um, yeah, track is definitely a sport where that's probably our second biggest sport behind football, and have definitely had some good success there. Yep.
So then let's run down the rabbit hole of some things that you have had some good success with. What are some things that Daniel is seeing down there in Texas that, I mean, really are working? And what are some examples that you could share for us?
So yeah, I'd like to talk about this long jumper that I trained. So he came in he was at the end of his high school junior year. So he was just a few weeks removed from track season. He had finished a few weeks earlier, and he had been pretty much resting for like a few weeks. And so he comes in pretty fresh. And his first day, or let's see, so his previous season he had done 21:10 in the long jump was his PR, and I think he was more regularly like in the 20-foot range. Um, so he comes in, and so I'm looking at his maximum velocity as a measure that I was very interested in. And then like we timed his 40, and we did some jumps to kind of look at power. So his first day he did 9.4 meters per second in tennis shoes. Um, and then I think he had like a fairly average vertical jump. It's 26 and a half. So I would say, his top speed was indicative of that. It was clear he was a track athlete, right? Like that was his strongest thing. Yeah, 9.4 meters per second in tennis shoes. It'd probably be 9.7 in spikes, which would translate to maybe like an 11.5 in the 100, something like that. Um, he only had one sprint time the previous season, which was actually a 25 in the 200. I guess it was in like cold and rain, so kind of had some excuses there. But yeah, I saw him run the 9.4 meters per second on a flying 20. And I was like, he's definitely faster than a 25 in the 200. So he comes in, so yeah, it's pretty fresh, and so we get him going on basically some short sprints. He had like a 200, like a 4x2, 4x4 kind of background, and then long, high, and triple jump. And so he hadn't done a lot of like actual speed training, mostly conditioning. So I got him going on short sprints, like 60 meters or less. twice a week, and then just some basic strength training, which he had never done, which was kind of made sense then that his power level, like his broad jump, his vertical jump, were nothing special, because he hadn't done any strength training. So that kind of made sense. So within 2 weeks, I think it was like 14 days after his first workout, he went 10 meters per second on a flying 20 in spikes. So he jumped up right away to being significantly faster. So 10 meters per second, you're looking at like maybe an 11.1 in the 100, So now we're talking about like a pretty legit high school sprinter. But he didn't even have that sprint background. So that was really good. So I'd say the first thing there is like, you have a guy who's track athlete, very top speed dominant, very elastic, not especially strong. When you add some good strength training into that, definitely saw some really good short-term results, which is good. And we're not talking about specific speed strength training either. We're talking like deep squat, lunges, and RDLs, right? Like those are kind of the fundamental things I had him started on. So that would be the first thing, is like, general strength training can work really well. Even in, top speed is supposed to be like that ultimate challenge where you need to have the specific strength. But at least, in his case, where he was a complete newbie to strength training, he got a great response to that right away. And that is something, that's obviously a big topic that we could talk about for hours. And that's something I would say I see somewhat consistently, in the sense that there is, that, general strength training can work. But there's definitely, we have to appreciate like the huge separation between, deep squats and top speed sprinting. Another example, like so I've got a football player who's he's a senior right now. So he's like about to leave for college, and he historically has been like over strength trained. He's a receiver, but still did all the football lifting since he's been in 7th grade, right? So he historically has been like quite strong, but not especially fast. Let's see, I think at his best he was hang cleaning 245 for 6, and he weighs probably at most he weighed like 165. So we're talking 1.5 times body weight cleaning, for 6 reps as a high schooler. So very strong, but then generally speaking, going to be about like around 5 flat on a 40 on a video time. So be more like a 4.8 hand time. So not a slow person, not a slow receiver, but not especially fast. And so after his senior season, he wasn't really sure what he was going to do. He ended up getting a scholarship offer to Houston Baptist, but to play football, but he decided he's going to go to A&M instead. So we're trying to see if he can walk on. But he'd obviously have to get a lot faster. So anyway, following his senior football season, didn't really lift weights for a while, because I had kind of talked to him about how he was very strong, but not especially fast. And so he was kind of not working out a whole lot. And then we ended up getting him, starting going on like speed training and running again, kind of train him like a track athlete to work on the speed. And it really wasn't lifting weights much at all. And then so he had kind of lost some speed over like Christmas break and stuff, but he got back to a point where he was pretty much as fast as he'd ever been, but he was not nearly as strong. We did a hang clean. He was like barely able to get 215. So we're talking like, for a max, maybe like 50 or 60 pounds off of his hang clean, compared to when he was his best, but he was as fast as he'd ever been. So you can, sort of see that separation between strength and even a separation between power and a clean. A clean is supposed to be like this fast lift where we're going to get better transfer. But even with the clean, like you can see that power at that speed is not the same thing as power in a sprint. So I think we have to respect that separation between power in the weight room and athleticism on the field. So with this kid, just last week, I said, okay, we're going to bring back in some squats and, see what we get now. Because, yeah, he was like, compared to where he had been, he was very weak. So last week we did 3 sets of 6 squats, deep squats. And he got a really good response to it. 3 days later, he texts me, he says, dude, my bounce is insane right now. So he's playing basketball, and he's 5'8", and I guess he's like back rimming dunks. He's jumping higher than he's ever jumped in his life. So he gets this dramatic response to these 3 sets of squats. So then he came in on Monday, and just within his warm up, we did some bounds for distance, and he was, bounding farther than he ever bounded. Right. So it's clear that like this power has shown up, and he's jumping really well, jumping and bounding really well. So we test his 10-yard sprint, and he's noticeably slower than the previous week. So even there, you see a separation between like jumping power and speed, at least in his case. So yeah, it's 2 sides of the coin. I think, yes, general strength training works if you manage it correctly, but at the same time, you got to respect the separation between speed and other forms of athleticism and power and strength. Speed is kind of its own realm. Even with him, even within 10 yards, not even top speed we're talking, even within 10 yards, he was measurably slower consistently after doing 3 sets of squats last week. So yeah, just some interesting examples there.
Yes, and to go full circle with this, you do a great job on social media of kind of diving down each of those rabbit holes.
Yeah, I try to share examples like that. So I'm not trying to make rules for people where it's like, look, this is what works, this is what doesn't, this is exactly what's going to happen. But just more like, just consider the possibility that this could make somebody slower, or consider the possibility that even though this is a deep squat and it's very general strength training, it could make somebody way faster. And then, just think critically and take measurements as you go, and let those measurements guide you, right? Don't just, okay, we got a 3-month, linear periodization plan here or whatever, and we're just going to follow it. Well, if you're in a setting where you don't have to do that, where you don't have to plan out 3 months at a time, like, let's take measurements along the way and figure it out, figure out what we should do. Maybe we shouldn't just try to add 50 pounds to everybody's squat, maybe that's not what they all need right now. So yeah, I try to give examples of like, this is what happened here. This is what happened here. And let's not just assume we know what's going to happen, but be critical and be analytical about it.
Yes, and I love that. And I love all that you're putting out, and you're really helping to drive coaches really to be better, moving forward, and to have a better look at what we're doing, and take a step back, Daniel. So I can't thank you enough for that. And I can't thank you enough for your time today too, man. This is absolutely awesome stuff. People are going to love it.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to share. And boy, I feel like there's so much more to talk about, but yeah, we got limited time here. So it was fun though.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, appreciate your time, and we'll be in touch real soon, brother.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, man. And a huge thanks to Daniel Back for spending the time with us today, guys. Open, honest, candid sharing. A guy sharing literally exactly what he was doing, what he's done, what he's seen, and how athletes have been getting better under his watch. I cannot thank Daniel enough for his open, honest, and candid sharing with us today. And guys, make sure that you're giving Jump Science a follow. That's JUMP_science on Instagram, because he's putting out some really awesome stuff. And as always, guys, if you did enjoy the talk, please share it to the social media outlet of your choice: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it may be. As always, guys, we are just trying to get the best information out there to all the great coaches that we can. And as always, guys, thank you for everything that you do for us here at Central Virginia Sport Performance. We will be back next week with another awesome guest. We will see you then.